Hey there, and welcome to Undoing We, Divorce and Life Conversations on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, podcast, and TV. I'm your host, Mardi Winder-Adams. I'm a divorce coach, a mediator, and someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. This show is all about helping you get through the tough stuff, the overwhelm of divorce, the what now moments, and the messiness of trying to rebuild your life. We're going to talk about real life challenges, share expert advice, and give you practical tools you can use to move forward with your life. Are you ready to start shifting from we to me? Grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Undoing We. One of the best things about having your own show is you get to interview a whole bunch of really interesting people. And my guest today is definitely one of those interesting people. And it's so fascinating for me to hear stories of how people have gone through a divorce and then have used that experience, whether it's good, bad, or just, meh, it happened, to really help others, to understand people better, and to advance their own personal and professional growth. So I want to introduce you to a lady I recently had the opportunity to meet through an introduction of somebody else who's been on the show. And I think that is fantastic because when people make introductions, I always find that that is just such a positive experience. But I want to introduce you to somebody who I think is just phenomenal what she does. Her name is Kristin Carey, and she is a neuro-resilience specialist and a serial entrepreneur who's built multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, both real businesses that you could go into, those old brick and mortar stores, as well as online business. She did go through her own divorce. She was diagnosed with 2 autoimmune conditions, and she experienced a lot of health issues, a lot of burnout, and a lot of stress around the divorce, which she was then able to take to the next level by immersing herself in learning about this, taking advantage of her prior communication and conflict resolution skills and her leadership training, and be able to really make this into a phenomenal support system for people who are high achievers, who are trying to just get really excellent at what they do. And right now, Kirstin specializes in helping people with sales and marketing, but that's not what she's here to talk about today. She's going to talk today about how going through the divorce experience impacted her directly, and a really amazing and inspiring metaphor to think about how you go through the divorce process. And how are you going to see yourself on the other side? And as a divorce coach, this is something I start working with my clients on right from our very first meeting. I've said this a couple of times. If you don't know where you want to be after the divorce, you cannot make the decisions and the choices during your divorce to position yourself so that you are able to reach those goals. So I'd like you to listen in to a clip of our conversation and just take all this information in. Kirstin shares a very personal side of her life and how she used the divorce experience to really make some big changes.
I learned in my 30s, I was traveling all over the country, all over the United States and part of Canada, working with these larger companies and speaking at these large events. I'd have hundreds and hundreds of people in the audience, really wanting to understand why people make decisions the way they do and why they were persuaded to do the things that they do and what underlying subconscious things were driving their decisions. And I was in a hotel room one night and I woke up and I honestly had been traveling so much, I didn't know where I was. I didn't even know which side of the bed to try to roll off onto to go to the bathroom. Like, I didn't know if I was home. I didn't know what city I was in. And I panicked. And I laid there for what seemed like an eternity. It was probably about maybe a minute. But I realized something else was wrong. Like my soul was like, something bigger is happening. So when I got back home, I started seeing doctors and being like, I'm really tired all the time and I'm gaining weight and I'm a former athlete. So I don't understand. I'm eating my low fat, yogurt and my wheat pasta. Why am I so sick? And I ended up getting diagnosed for celiac disease and Hashimoto's, which are two autoimmune conditions. And they were like, well, here's some medication and good luck. I'm like, that can't be the answer. I'm only 30 something, right? So I went into more natural medicine and still didn't get kind of the answers I was looking for because I was still struggling physically and I shouldn't be at that point. So like every entrepreneur and every person who learns to pivot, I started trying to learn, well, what caused this? And one of the things I went back to school for nutrition and I went on to the science-y side of it. But what I started learning was that the emotional side, the stress side was where the big problems were for me. And then I started realizing I was married to the wrong guy and he was the perfect guy. He was so nice and everyone liked him and all the things, but it was wrong for me. And I grew up in a very large Irish Catholic family and you don't get divorced when you're in an Irish Catholic family this size and you don't move away and all the things that I did. So there was a moment where I had, that come to Kirstin, come to Jesus conversation with yourself. Jesus conversation. Where you're like, what am I doing? And why am I doing it? And who am I? And it was a real dark night of the soul kind of conversation.
Right.
And the autoimmune conditions, if you look at what autoimmune is, it's your body attacking itself because it's telling you something isn't right. There is a misalignment with your soul and who you really are and how you're showing up in the universe. And that may feel woo-woo to a lot of people, but it's truth, right? It's who we really are. So you're attacking your own self. And when I realized whatever's going on internally is always going on externally. What was I doing externally that was showing up internally? And I really had to kind of come to the conclusion. I knew my marriage wasn't working. I knew I didn't feel good for a reason. I wasn't aligned with who I really was. And I went through a serious pivot and I changed careers. My husband and I got divorced. I thought it was going to be easy. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. I mean, there were moments I was like, maybe I'll just suck it up and keep doing it. But it forced me to look at who I really was and what I really wanted. And I changed everything. I opened restaurants. I decided to open a wellness center. I got multiple certifications and degrees in things like neuroscience and psychology and healing and trauma healing. And then my now husband, which we can talk about how that even happened, he then joined forces with me and came on my team to do all the science, the lab interpretation. I mean, we basically can do everything a naturopath or a doctor can do, except I can't. In that business, I couldn't diagnose and I couldn't prescribe medication, but who wants that, right?
Right.
And I did that for 15 years. So, but I created an online program that ended up hitting 7 figures to help other pretty much women start to come into themselves to find the healing that their bodies were trying to tell them was up. So when you ignore your own journey, your own soul long enough, it'll show up in a physical response. Yeah. So all the women were coming because, my hormones are out of balance or my thyroid is a mess. But what it really was is I'm out of alignment with who I am. So I could take all the tangible sciencey stuff and I could take all of the emotional, spiritual stuff, and we combined them into one big program and helped women not only get past autoimmune and reverse all those issues, but to really find themselves. So we never promoted it this way, but many of the women who went through our programs would leave relationships or shift things in ways that were really big pivots for them. Right. They'd leave corporate and go into business for themselves. They would leave relationships. They would find themselves in a different space, but so empowered. So now, after 15 years of that, I moved out of that business in the healing space and I went back into more of a support women in business to be themselves and also help more people do what they do in a more aligned way. And that's where I am now.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that because, it's hard for people that are listening and going, well, boy, that, what an exciting life. I mean, yes, it's exciting, but boy, you were very vulnerable and open and honest, and thank you. And I know that that's not always easy to do, but I do appreciate this. And the other thing I really appreciate about what you said is that you can, and this is what stuck to me, which may not be anything that sticks with other people, but is how your first spouse wasn't a bad person and was a pretty good person, as a matter of fact, but there just wasn't that connection. And I think sometimes those are the hardest divorces, right? Because you really can't put your finger and go, well, there was abuse, or there was financial mismanagement, or there was lying or cheating or whatever. It's like, it just is not working for me right now. And it's harder to explain to friends and family. So
because it looked perfect. I mean, people were shocked. They were like, you guys were the perfect couple. And I just realized how good I was and how I was raised to kind of do this. The Irish are very good at this, of masking things and making it look like it's fine, and you don't talk about it and you suck it up and you walk it off and you keep going.
Right.
So I wasn't talking about how it wasn't working. They didn't see behind the scenes. I mean, you never can see inside of somebody else's marriage if you're not literally there with them all the time.
Yeah.
But now, knowing what I know about psychology and what I know about healing and what I know about wellness, there were things that were going on that I just said, well, I can handle it.
Right.
I can push it to the side. So, there was more of a narcissism energy running through him than I realized at the time. And people use that word, I think, a little too loosely, like what it truly is versus what, like, just because they're not doing what you like, they're not a narcissist.
Right. Right.
But there really was that component to it. And then I realized why I was so susceptible. Being such an empowered, like, I thought I would have told you I was an empowered person before, but you learn things after the fact that you couldn't possibly see, but when you're in it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's,
but it looked like everything was fine.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. And almost everybody that I have on that has been in a narcissistic relationship, a true narcissistic relationship, or if they've been a therapist, or they're trained in working with trauma informed and all that coaching, that's the exact message I got. Is it's kind of like that boiling the frog. You're in it.
Yeah. I use that term. I use that example all the time. Yeah. You don't realize it. You've been boiling the whole time, but you don't know because it went up 1 degree. Oh
exactly.
My gosh, I love that you use that.
You're just used to the temperature increase. So now I want to take a pivot, because I really think that you are going to be invaluable sharing your insights about women who make that transition during divorce. And I don't know if have you read the book Transitions by William Bridges?
No, but
it's an older book, but it's really fantastic. And he talks about the importance of having, if you're going through a life transition, is really creating a routine where you celebrate the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, but understanding that you're not starting from step one. It's not like, snakes and ladders where you've landed on a snake and you're all the way back, or Monopoly, you go to jail, you don't pass go. Yeah. You're not there. You've got all the life experience and all the expertise and all the knowledge that you obtained, even through a very difficult relationship. You learn things about yourself, about other people, about all kinds of stuff. So that can be leveraged, especially for women who are going through this transition, to maybe make some career choice changes, like you've done. And maybe that means going from corporate to entrepreneurship, or turning that side hustle into a full-time job. So can you talk a little bit about, because I know women are always like, well, yeah, but I can't do that. Or, I have this gut feeling I could do it, but my friends are telling me I'm crazy. Like, what do we have to do about that?
Well, first, stop listening to your friends, because they're coming from a place of, I couldn't do that, so therefore you probably couldn't do that. They're not in the same place. Or get different friends. I'm not saying your friends are not awesome, but they may not be the people to talk to about this. What you want to do is talk to somebody who's done it. Talk to somebody, like the idea of, if you're in a room of 5 people who are millionaires, the chances of you being a millionaire are a lot higher. But if you hang out with 5 people who are broke, the chances of you being broke are a lot higher. So you want to sometimes, and I'm not saying your friends are not great, but you want to also up-level the things around you, not just the people, the books that you're reading, the TV shows that you're watching, the podcasts that you're listening to. Like, this kind of podcast is the thing to start listening to, because it's attracting people who want to make shifts and want to do something different. one of my besties, when I was going through a lot of this, she was married to somebody who now she is divorced from, who at the time she couldn't come to terms with the fact that she knew the relationship wasn't working for her. And she was really hell-bent on my people stay married and good people stay married. So when I started going through my challenges and I kind of confided in her, she basically stopped talking to me.
Wow.
She has since apologized to me, and we have come back around. Since she started going through her divorce, I was the first person she called, and she has since apologized on many levels and said, I couldn't bear to be near you because I saw a reflection in me that was too hard to see.
Right, right.
So you have to just kind of take a step back, and the people around you love you. However, they may not have the tools or the skills to help you go to the next level for who you are. So find more of those people. Go to LinkedIn and find more of those people if they're outside of who you normally hang out with, and listen to podcasts like this to help up-level you. But trust the knowing. Like if I really was open and honest with myself, I knew the day I got married, but I had already gone through almost 6 years of dating. We had already spent all the money on the stuff. We'd already told everybody that we were going to get married. We had already gone through all the arguments on whether we should get married or not. We had done the things.
Right.
And I was 25 years old, and that's what you do. And so I was supposed to do it, not I knew.
Yeah.
And I remember the day of, is it easier to get divorced or would it be easier to just walk away today?
Yeah.
And I stood there and said, no, this is okay. And so I think the knowing and the trust of the knowing is where we have to come to grips with, because we're the only ones who will ever truly know. So I have a big thing for butterflies. I've got a tattoo. I wear the necklace. I've got the things. The book that I wrote recently has a butterfly on it. But there's a bigger reason. It's not just I think they're pretty. There's a transformation, a metamorphosis that occurs unlike any other thing that happens with the caterpillar versus the butterfly. And there's something called imaginal cells. They'll teach this in med school. Imaginal cells that are in the caterpillar. And the caterpillar at some point liquefies into nothingness, into just this liquid goo, and into the chrysalis, and comes out the other side this completely miraculously different version of itself. Now, the imaginal cells are something that stays with the caterpillar that moves all the way through the butterfly. The reason I'm telling you this is because the imaginal cells are the piece of the caterpillar that already tells them what the other side looks like. So they have faith and trust and belief to go through one of the worst processes to come out the other side, right? I mean, they have to liquefy to become this thing.
Yeah.
And for us to have any real pivot to come out the other side, we have to have this belief. And you have those imaginal cells as well. We just don't trust them typically because we're told by our friends, we're told by society, we're told by all the things, your imagination is silly. We tell little kids, stop playing, be real.
Right.
So this imagination, this vision, this understanding, this knowing of who we are on the butterfly side gets squashed. It's like stepping on the caterpillar before it gets to the chrysalis standpoint or state. So what I would love to tell people to do is I want you to sit with this idea, trust the knowing, and get into that imaginal space, that imaginary truth. It's not make believe. And I want people to really understand that. You're not making this up. It's coming from somewhere. And when you can see the other side, it's just a matter of how. And that's where people get stuck. It's the how. I'm like, if you see it, it's possible. You don't have to worry about the how. The how comes, and I know that sounds so esoteric.
But it does. Yeah.
But it comes.
Yeah.
But you have to have the vision. Nobody else can have that for you because the butterfly exists in you, but you have to give her life.
I hope that clip was about 15 minutes in length. I hope it kind of stirred something in you and got you thinking maybe a little bit about how you're navigating through divorce, or even how you're navigating through maybe a lot of changes that are going on either in your divorce or even post-divorce. Because one of the things that I think we often forget is that, yes, the divorce is difficult. And yes, when we finally get that divorce document from the court and we are officially no longer married to the person, that doesn't mean the work of the divorce has stopped. In many cases, it has just started, because now all the hard work starts, all the financial decisions, the moving, the maybe changing jobs, the making these big decisions. And all these things have to be done in a timely way, because, we don't want to leave things undone post-divorce, because that's where complications start happening if one person stops complying with that court order. But let's go back to Kirstin and her message. I think there was 3 really important points that she brought up, and I would just like to spend a couple of minutes highlighting them and sharing how I see this playing out in a lot of my clients' lives and in my divorce coaching practice. So I really like this whole idea of surrounding yourself with the right support. And Kirstin talked about, the people that you surround yourself with are the people that are going to either pull you up and help you achieve what you want to do, or they're going to drag you down and not allow you or not encourage you and support you to make changes that are going to get you where you want to be. So let's take a look at that. Every one of us has people in our family when we're going through divorce, and whether they're family or friends, let's say in our network, they could be family or friends, who are motivating us, who are supporting us, who are encouraging us, and who have gone through this and are able to give us a helpful and beneficial perspective on the divorce process and how we're handling it. And then there are those people that are not doing that for you. These are the people that I call them the people that never get better. They just stay bitter post-divorce. Don't be around those people unless that's how you want to be perceived and show up in the world around you. So I think that's a really important message. And that doesn't mean you have to cut friends and family out of your life. I never say that to people. But it does mean that you have to make sure that those are not the only voices that you're hearing. That's not the only feedback you're getting. Because if you've ever been in a group where there's just this negative vibe going, it's almost impossible to turn that negative vibe around if that is how the other people in the group want to stay. So take a minute, stop and think. Are the people that you're letting into your inner circle and having that direct influence on you, are they helping you through the divorce, or are they causing you more problems than you need? And, then you may have to make a decision how far to distance yourself from those people, at least during the divorce process. Let's talk. The next thing that Kirstin talks about is how your physical health and your emotional and mental health are going to align. So quite often we know that something's not right. Kirstin talked about on the day of her wedding, kind of knowing, this isn't right, but going through with it anyhow. And I cannot tell you how many times I have heard women and men, by the way, say the exact same thing, that they knew that this was going to be a difficult relationship, or they knew that it wasn't necessarily the relationship that they wanted, but they'd come this far, so what the heck, might as well go through with it. So notice that. And I think that's a good message for all of us. If you don't feel that alignment, if something is not feeling right with you, either in your body or in your mind, we really need to address that. And sometimes when we're trying to pretend the relationship is good and we're ending up, with sleep problems and digestive problems, and maybe even extreme health conditions like Kirstin experienced, it's our body feeling that stress and we're not listening to it. So it's going to just keep getting louder until we can't ignore it anymore. So make sure that your physical health is reflecting what your emotional alignment is. And then the last point that Kirstin makes with that beautiful metaphor of the butterfly and the imaginal cells that actually realize that it had the capacity to become a butterfly even after it liquefies. That's kind of a weird experience, I'm sure, but that trust your inner knowing. So what is it that you know that you are wanting to do, that you are wanting to discover, and that you really can see yourself on the other side of the divorce being this beautiful butterfly, or this successful person, or this grounded person, or this healthy person, or this happy person. We have to believe that we can accomplish that. So I hope this gave you some things to think about, either in your divorce or in your post-divorce life. I know that these are bits of nuggets of wisdom that doesn't just have to apply to divorce. We can apply it across our business and our personal lives to really become the very best we can become, even through very challenging situations. Thanks for sharing your time with me on Undoing We. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you're looking for some more support, be sure to grab my guide, 5 Strategies for Better Communication During Divorce and Other Life Transitions. The link is going to be in the show notes. And remember, no matter what you do today, do something special for yourself.